sometimes known as Mark Temons Jr., 839 Spruce Street, last name Tango Echo Mike Oscar November Sierra. I'm a member of the NAACP Criminal Justice Reform Committee, a co-founder of the Peace Action Network of Lancaster. I'm currently serving as the Director of Policy for Sarah Hammond's U.S. Congressional campaign. I grew up upstream on the west branch of the Susquehanna in the mountains, as we say, in Lock Haven. I earned a bachelor's degree in political science somewhat of a long time ago, and I have lived all over the country, moving here about 8 years ago. For the past couple of years, I've worked for a nonprofit based in Lancaster, designing and managing home improvement projects for folks with disabilities, and my kids are students at Park Elementary School. As a community member, and as someone who has been actively involved in criminal justice and prison reform for almost 20 years, I'm here to speak on the subject of hashtag defund the police. Contrary to growing popular sentiment, police reform is not something that we just started to think about in early June. In fact, we've known for a long time what to do about this stuff. The solutions are data-driven, proven effective, widely accepted by both experts and lay people, and by 2014, they had started really making significant political headway. So that year, after the death of Michael Brown at the hands of police in Ferguson, Missouri, the White House created the President's Task Force for 21st Century Policing, which was co-chaired by former Philadelphia Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey and former Assistant U.S. Attorney General Lori Robinson. The task force issued its report in May 2015, and its recommendations focused largely on principles that would create a systemically different police force, a culturally different police force, one that would build trust and legitimacy, partly through diversity. Police forces should generally represent the communities they serve, through community policing, and now that is non-enforcement encounters, we call them, right? They're non-aggressive, you're not looking for anything. And you know, the committee of police officers, the task force, found that this would cause crime reduction, right? So not seeking crime would cause crime reduction. That's what the cops found. Working with community groups to alleviate factors creating crime, including housing, healthcare, factors that cause poverty. Another factor of the 21st century policing, transparency, generally being open with data and policies. That would include, of course, things like a use of force policy. There should be a use of force policy, and it should contain some type of continuum that correlates with how police officers should react in the face of certain danger. That should also be made public. Now, so of course we have mostly use of force policies. We have this issue here, right? If your use of force policy is not public, then really you can't trust the police to write one. What you have is a union who backs up a police officer who gets fired. They say he never violated the use of force policy. We've had this issue happen in Lancaster, and without knowing what that use of force policy is, community governments don't really have any authority over those police officers. So relating back to accountability, you need some type of civilian review board to even review that. Additionally, they recommended training and education in racial justice, de-escalation, and the officers decided they would be safer with bulletproof vests, right? So they would not be threatened by teenage black men. Now, some of this stuff, we had mixed results, right? So I've seen the estimate that 40% of police forces adopted these recommendations within the first 2 years. That's great, but that's a lot like painting Black Lives Matter on the street, right? What you need to do is you need to look at the systemic changes and see if there was anything accompanying that symbolic action. So in 2017, I coordinated a forum with the NAACP, Peace Action Network of Lancaster, the Pennsylvania Latinos Officer Association, and Crispus Attucks Community Center in Lancaster, with cops from local departments who shared personal stories of how implementation of the 21st century policing principles had reduced crime in their communities. That's locally, right? This forum was filmed by the Spanish American Civic Association, was covered extensively in Lancaster newspaper, and appeared in a 2018 report to Congress by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights entitled Police Use of Force, an Examination of Modern Policing Practices. So we've known about this stuff for a long time. We're not asking the cops to do anything new. And we know it works because in Columbia, honestly, we're not that bad at community policing. We did have some trainings that were led by the NAACP, and as a result, we had 19 violent crimes last year, as Carlos brought up. So by and large, what is different about defund the police versus 21st century standards from 5 years ago is that those standards relied solely on police department policy changes. The civilian oversight boards have no authority without subpoena power, and virtually no district attorneys in the country implemented that subpoena power, rendering the committees or the oversight boards virtually worthless. State and federal laws, oh my God, is that 5 minutes?
Yes, that is 5 minutes.
Heavens to Betsy. Yo, state and federal laws didn't change. Health and wellness was not integrated. We have no policy oversight. At best, you get a borough paying $3.5 million for 19 violent crimes and 1,000 things they're admittedly not good at.
Sorry.
Peace out, sorry.
The next sign up we have is Scott Frederick.